Sewing of Men's Shirt Part 2. In the previous sessions, we saw how to sew the conventional placket, yoke for back bodice, shoulder seams, collar, and neckline finishing. In this session, we will see how to sew the sleeves with plackets and cuffs, sew the bottom hem, and fix the buttons. Next, we will see how to sew the sleeves. For that, first cut 5 inches from the notch point that we made at the back sleeve earlier. Snip at the peak point. Now place one of the narrow placket pieces over to the right side and fix it. Turn it over and press the seam. Fold 1/4 inch of the other end of the placket inwards and sew the placket as shown here. Now take the right side of the wider placket and place it on the wrong side of the sleeve. Sew them together till the peak of the cut. Turn it over and press the seam. Again turn it over and fold the cut edge of the placket 3 by 4 inches over and again fold it to match with the seam line so that the final width of the placket will be 1 inch. Cut the extra length of the placket. Now sew and fix the placket as shown here. Notice the shape of the placket at the end. Similarly, we will fix the other sleeve plackets also. Now we can attach the sleeves to the bodice with a flat fell seam. Sew the side seams of the sleeves with a 3 by 4 inch seam allowance. We will finish the side seams with a flat fell seam. Next, we will see how to attach the cuffs to the end of the sleeve. Place the single layer of cuff piece over the piece with interfacing. Sew them together along 3 sides with a 1/2 inch seam allowance as shown here. Repeat the same for the other side also. Trim along the curves and turn the cuffs to its right side. Now we can attach the cuffs to the sleeves. Pleat the sleeves to the cuff as shown here. Leaving 1 inch from the end, make a 1 inch pleat under twice and sew them together. Now close the seam and sew along all the four sides as shown here. Repeat the same for the other side also. Thus we have finished sewing the cuffs. Next, we will see how to sew the bottom of the shirt with a shirt tail hem. First, fold the bottom of the shirt 1/4 inch towards the wrong side. Fold once again and sew a shirt tail hem for the bottom of the shirt. Next, we will fix the buttons and sew the buttonholes for the front bodice as well as the sleeves. First, we will mark the positions of the buttonholes for the front bodice. Always use the tailor's chalk with the same shade as that of the garment, and the markings should not be strong as we are marking on the right side of the garment. Mark the position of the first buttonhole on the standing collar as shown here. Mark the position of the second button 2.5 inches away from the first and the next 3.5 inches away. Similarly, mark the remaining positions 3.5 inches away. Next, we will mark the buttonhole positions for the sleeves. Mark a point at the middle of the cuff and 1/2 inch inside as shown here and mark the width of the buttons. Similarly, next position will be the midpoint of the placket. Here, we are going to sew the buttonholes on a sewing machine. Now hand sew and fix all the buttons. Thus we have finished sewing the men's shirt. It is very important to verify the various aspects of quality of the finished product. So let's do a quality check to ensure that our shirt is of good quality. Make sure all the seams are neat. Cut edges should not be visible. Check if the buttons are neatly fixed. Check if the collars are of the same size on both the sides. Finally, make sure that the shirt is ironed properly. In this session, we have learned how to sew the fabric pieces for a men's shirt. Before we conclude, let's take a look at the key steps involved in sewing of a men's shirt. Step 1. Sew the conventional placket. Step 2. Sew the yoke pieces to the back bodice. Step 3. Sew the shoulder seams. Step 4. Join the collar pieces. Step 5. Fix the collars to the neckline. Step 6. Sew the sleeves. Step 7. Sew the bottom of the shirt with a shirt tail hem. Step 8. Fix the buttons and sew the buttonholes for the front bodice as well as the sleeves. Step 9. Check the quality of the finished product. With that, we've come to the end of this session.